Mrs. Morris and the Ghost. Chapter 7. Charlene couldn't have gotten a bigger break than hiring Minnie Johnson. The woman knew a little bit about everybody in Salem and didn't mind sharing. Not maliciously, just conversationally. "So, Minnie," she asked as they headed toward the third floor, "this is an enormous house. How many people did the Strathmores employ? I'm sure with their busy schedules they would need plenty." "Well, I'm not rightly sure, but they did have full-time help. Will came weekly and kept their flower garden blooming in every season. Then they had a cook, John something or other. He would bartend during their parties." She ran her hand along the banister and looked about to be sure she wasn't overheard. Mrs. Strathmore didn't like the kitchen, and she had a hard time keeping her staff. Not the easiest person to get along with. "I see," Charlene said in a pseudo-whisper, as if sharing secrets. "Did they argue a lot?" "Well, I'm not sure about that." Her brown eyes sparkled. "But I remember them going at each other a time or two. One Christmas Eve, she threw a high-heeled shoe at him. Luckily, he ducked. Cracked a window in the master bedroom upstairs. I was working that party and had to clean up the mess." "Wow. You know, out of curiosity, I Googled them. They were a gorgeous couple. They looked very much in love." "Yes, well..." Minnie stopped to catch her breath as they reached the second-floor landing. "They were at first. But like most marriages, that first bloom of love fades, and then the faults appear." Her big bosom rose and fell with each heave. "But I shouldn't be talking about them this way. They were very nice to me and Will, and what happened to him was awful. He was a thoughtful man. Always a kind word, you know." She shook her head. "To die so young. It's just not right if you ask me." "Agreed." Charlene slowed her pace as they went to the first big room on the left. "As I said, I only worked occasionally for them, filling in at their lavish parties." She giggled and her cheeks grew rosy. "It was such fun seeing all the fine ladies in their gowns. The Ladies of Salem, the group was called. Society women who promoted the rich history of the town. Mrs. Strathmore and her friends were very active, fundraising, charity work, that kind of thing." She recalled the pictures of Shauna doing good deeds. And on the banister, Minnie plodded up the final stairs. "My Will thought she was a social climber and wasn't fond of her at all. She had a sharp tongue, and if things weren't done to her satisfaction, well, she let him know about it." "I see. So the lady of the estate wasn't popular with the hired help. Who took care of the house then?" Charlene wanted to talk to the person who would surely have better insight as to who might want to harm Jack. "That was the housekeeper, Susan McGivens. She stayed in the nanny quarters downstairs." "Oh, that's my suite now. Does she still live nearby?" "No, she moved back to Wales last year. A new grandmother. She wanted to be near family. She had the quaintest accent. Very English, you know." So much for getting information out of the retired housekeeper. "How nice for her." Charlene showed Minnie the boxes that were still unopened and handed her a cutting knife. "I'd be happy to get through these today." 8 boxes sat in the corner filled with knickknacks and books for the house. 5 out of 6 tables still to do. "No problem. I'll let Will know I'll be home by 6 to prepare his dinner, if that's all right." Charlene nodded. "I appreciate you staying." Minnie made the call on her cell phone, then after opening a box, she eyed Charlene. "So, you have no husband then?" "No. After 15 happy years of marriage, he passed away. 18 months ago, in a car accident." She touched her diamond studs, something she never took off. "Jared was my best friend. A wonderful man. I doubt I'll ever marry again." "Don't say that. You're still young and attractive. And running a B&B will give you plenty of opportunities to meet people. The right man will surely come along." "He might, but right now I'm not interested." She thought of Sam and the way she'd felt when he looked at her, and handsome, charming Jack. If things were different, if he was alive and not a mere disappearing ghost, well, she might have been interested. And she couldn't possibly get to know Sam, not until they knew who murdered Jack and his spirit was freed. Minnie chuckled. Then he will for sure. She flashed a grin and her plump face grew pink. That's the way life is. I never wanted a child every year, but that's what I got, before old Will got himself fixed. I'm sure you love your kids very much. Jared and I wanted a family, but it never happened. Too bad I didn't know you then. You could have had a couple of mine, she chuckled. No, seriously. I'm sorry, sweetie. That was thoughtless. I do love my kids, very much. Will too. I'm sure you do. Charlene hid her face, digging into boxes, pulling out a framed photo of her husband and her from their early days together. She held it to her heart, knowing she'd put it on her bedside table later. Children do keep you young. Minnie carried a chest over to the window and set it down. Look at me, for instance. Don't look a day over 30, now do I? Not at all, Charlene said, forgiving her for her thoughtless remark. Minnie was a kind woman and would be helpful to Charlene in many ways. That she liked to gossip was a bonus. Was Shauna well liked by her society friends? She asked casually. Some of the ladies of Salem are very proud of their ancestry and can date it back to the actual witch trials. Amelia Bansford, for instance. Her family was one of the oldest. Pretty enough, not stunning like Shauna, but she and Jack would sit by themselves during some of the events, deep in conversation. They were both extremely bright. That's interesting. Amelia Bransford. She would have to ask Jack about her. Could Shauna have been jealous? Would that be reason enough to push him down the stairs? Was that the reason for her affair? What did Shauna's friends think when she married so quickly after her husband's passing? Well, you know how some women are. They can be very catty to one another, and Mrs. Strathmore was beautiful and married to one of their own. Jack Strathmore was Salem bred and born, rich, handsome, a wonderful catch. Now this was getting interesting. What did they do? Do you think it caused problems in their marriage? She asked. During some of their parties, they'd have a trio come in and play. The women loved to dance with him, and he was quite the dancer, too. I'm telling you that if some fancy woman started flirting around with my Will and he flirted back, I would get my claws out. Charlene smiled, unwrapping an onyx chess set they'd bought in Italy, a souvenir for one of their trips. I don't think you need to worry. And rightly so. Minnie dusted off an antique book on life on the 1800s. Brandy Flint was president of the club for a while, and I remember that Mrs. Strathmore and she didn't get along at all. Mrs. Strathmore was sure that Miss Flint was ignoring her request to be voted into a board position because Mrs. Strathmore wasn't from Salem. Mary and the doctor gave her some status, but not quite enough. Was that why Shauna had taken up with Theo? Did Jack's business partner offer her more respect amongst the women she so admired? Did he love her so much that he killed Jack to get her for himself? She wanted to meet this Theo, and to sit face to face with Jack's wife. She was a good reader of people, and felt strongly that if she asked the right questions, she might get a positive response. One way or another, she'd know if the woman had the heart of a killer.